Good morning, students. From your Vistas book, we are doing chapter number 6 On the Face of It, written by Suzanne Hill. The play features an elderly gentleman, Mr. Lamb, and a young lad of 14 who meets in the farmer's garden, that is, Mr. Lamb's garden. The lad, that is Derek, enters the garden stealthily, thinking it to be an empty, but is startled by Mr. Lamb's advice, mind the apples. The young boy is confused and also feels guilty because he had entered the garden out of curiosity, thinking it is empty, and comes across Mr. Lamb. Mr. Lamb reassures him by telling him that he does not mind strangers entering his garden. He tells Derek that he need not be afraid of anything. Mr. Lamb does not know that Derek is a complex ridden boy, so he is surprised when Derek reacts haughtily to the word afraid and tells him that people are afraid of him. So let's continue with the line by line explanation of chapter to understand why Derek feels that people are afraid of him. Mr. Lamb, no, not the whole of you, not of you. Derry, yes. Pause. So when Derry says that people are afraid of me, in fact, when I look at myself in the mirror, I also get afraid. Then Mr. Lamb says, no, not all of you. That is, there's nothing whole about you that you should be afraid of. Now, what is that Derry sees in the mirror and is afraid of? Let's read. Mr. Lamb, later on, when it's a bit cooler, I will get the ladder and a stick and pull down those crab apples. They're ripe for it. I'll make jelly. It's a good time of year, September. Look at them, orange and golden. That's magic fruit, I often say. But it's best picked and made into jelly. You could give me a hand. Now, Mr. Lamb says that this is the best time of the year, that is September, because the apples are ripe and he enjoys making jelly. And he says that I'm going to pull down the crab apples, get a ladder, get a stick, and pull down the crab apples. So he's going to do this, and in fact, he says that those oranges are magic fruit, and he says that I pick the best of the fruits and make a jelly of it, whether it is oranges, whether it is apples. And in fact, he asked Derry that if you wish, if you want, you can give me a helping hand when I'm going to pull those crab apples. Derry, what have you changed the subject for? People always do that. Why don't you ask me? Why do you do what they all do and pretend it isn't true and it isn't there? In case I see you looking and mind and get upset, I will tell you don't ask me because you're afraid to. Now, Derry realizes that we were talking about people being afraid. We were talking about he himself being afraid, seeing his own image in the mirror. So, why did Mr. Lamb change the topic? Why did he come to jellies and fruits? So he says that why did you do that? In fact, you are no different than the other people. Other people also pretend things. They show something else and they feel something else. So in fact, you are doing the same thing. Why don't you straightforwardly ask and question me that what is there on my face? What is that afraids me or the people? But then you somewhere are afraid and you do not wish to question because you are no less different from the world, from the people. You want me to ask? Say so then. Derry, I don't like being with people, any people. Mr. Lamb, I should say, to look at it, I should say, you got burned in the fire. So Mr. Lamb feels okay. You wish me to question you on what had happened wrong. What is that people are afraid of you, or why you yourself get afraid when you see in mirror? So please answer. So he says, I don't like being in the company of people. I do not like being with them or close to them. So Mr. Lamb is making a guess, looking at the face, and he says that as I look at you, your face, it seems that your face got burnt in a fire. Derry, not in a fire. I got acid all down that side of my face, and it burned it all away. It ate my face up. It ate me up, and now it's like this, and it won't ever be any different. So now we come to know about Derek, that how he feels that people are afraid of him, and why he himself is afraid to look in the mirror. And he tells that the face is burnt, and this is burnt not because of fire but because of acid. The acid has spoiled the one part of his face, it has burned the one part of his face. And he says that not only my face it has ate me up. That is, even I'm destroyed by the pain. My soul is also hurt badly by this pain. And he says it won't be different now, it's going to be there with me on my face for ages now. So it is going to be like this. And that is the reason that people are afraid of me, and that is the reason Derek says that he does not want to be in the company of people. Mr. Lamb, no, Derry, aren't you interested? Now, when Derry says that his face was burnt with the acid and he is all destroyed, and because of it he does not have faith in the people, and moreover there's a inferiority complex in him, and he says that it's not going to look any different. So Mr. Lamb says no, he does not agree to what Derry says. Derry says, aren't you interested? That is, are you not interested in my story? You might be interested in, you might not be willing to talk to me. You might not be interested anymore in me as a person. Mr. Lamb, you're a boy who came into the garden. Plenty do. I'm interested in anybody, anything. There's nothing God made that doesn't interest me. Look over there, over beside the far wall. What do you see? Derry, rubbish. So, Mr. Lamb says that this beautiful world is created by God, and whatever God has created, I'm interested in every bit. And he says that there are plenty of people who come to this garden, so I'm interested in all of them. I'm interested in anybody, anything, everything that God has created. And he says, ask Derry, that over beside that wall over there, just have a look and tell me, what do you see over there? Derry says, I see rubbish. Mr. Lamb, rubbish? Look, boy, look. What do you see? Derry, just grass and stuff, weeds. So Mr. Lamb again asked him, just have a look. What do you see over there? Is it just rubbish? Is it just weeds? So Derry announces, yes, it's just grass and the stuff. Here or there, some stuff is there. It's weeds. Weeds are unwanted plant. So it says it's just that. So Mr. Lamb explains him. Some call them weeds. If you like, then a weed garden. That there's fruit and there are flowers and trees and herbs, all sorts. But over there, weeds. I grow weeds there. Why is one green growing plant called a weed and another flower? Where's the difference? It's all life, growing, same as you and me. So now Mr. Lamb says that how for you those plants over there are weed, but for me it is green. For many people, one is green, the other is weeds, the others are one unimportant plant. So he's trying to explain that every person, every human being has one or the other reason to dislike himself. Somewhere they feel inferior. And that feeling of being less in something, that is disastrous for us. It does not matter how one looks. This is the example, through this example of weed, he's trying to explain this. And it says what is important is to accept who and what one is and live life fully. The life is to be lived with a positive attitude and not allow any complexities to block one's growth. So when he says those are weed, that is unimportant plants, so he says no, you have to change your perception. For me, it is the weed garden. What is the difference? It's all about growing, how we see things. Same as you and me. So he says you and me are no different. Derry says we are not the same. Derry does not agree to what Mr. Lamb says. He says, we are not the same. Mr. Lamb, I'm old, you are young. You've got a burnt face, I've got a tin leg. Not important. You are standing there, I'm sitting here. Where's the difference? So Mr. Lamb says that what is the difference? We both of us are same. Old and you are young. I'm sitting over here. You are standing over there. If you dislike yourself of having a bird face, then I have a tin leg. So there's not much difference. We have our problems and we have to face it very boldly. So there's not much difference. Now, when Derry learns that he has a tin leg, he questions him. Why have you got a tin leg, Mr. Lamb? Real one got blown off years back. Lame lamb, some kids say. Haven't you heard them? You will. Lame lamb. It fits. Doesn't trouble me. So Mr. Lamb says that the real one got blown off. That is, in a bomb explosion, his leg had been blown off. And then he says, Lame Lamb, sub kids call. So he says that the children of the neighborhood call him Lame Lamb. That is lame lamb. Why? Because he walks with a limp. And then he says, it fits, doesn't trouble me. Now he says that initially he did felt bad because but now he feels the name suits him. It does not trouble him because he's got over with the pain, with the upset. He has um, he has the realization that he has to live with a tin leg. So acceptance is there, so it does not trouble him then when children try to tease him that it is lame lamb. But you can put a trouser and cover it up and no one sees. They don't have to notice and stare. So Daddy says that you are fortunate that you have a tin leg, but then you can cover it with your trousers and nobody is going to stare at you. People don't have to stare at you. Mr. Lamb, some do, some don't. They get tired of it. In the end, there's plenty of other things to stare at. So he says that yes, some people do notice, some people do stare, but then many are ignore also. And moreover, people get tired of talking about things. There are many beautiful things to talk of, to discuss and to consider important. Martin leg is not that important that people should concentrate their words or time in talking about it. People do ignore things and they have many other things to talk about. Dairy, like my face. Now again, we know dairy is altogether a person who is suffering from inferiority complex and he does not like himself, he dislikes himself. So he believes that if people are not talking about Dairy's Mr. Lamb's tin leg, they would definitely talk about Dairy's burnt face. Mr. Lamb, like crab apples, or the weeds, or a spider climbing up a silken ladder, or my tall sunflowers. Dairy, thanks, Mr. Lamb. It's all relative. So, Mr. Lamb, who is a staunch believer in the goodness, in the oneness, in the equality, in the things that are created by God, who is a positive person. He says, why would people talk anything else? They might talk about apples, they might talk about weeds, or something about spiders climbing. There are many beautiful things to talk of. The sunflowers. Then there is says these are mere things. This is all things. So Mr. Lamb says it is all relative. That is, the different people have different viewpoints to look at the same thing. Some find one thing beautiful, other find it ugly. It depends on one's outlook and attitude.